The night sky was burning red. Ash and smoke filled the air. The city that once had tall towers was now broken and silent. Machines that once protected the streets were lying in pieces, their lights dead, their voices gone. The ground was covered with dust, blood, and the smell of fire. In the middle of this broken world ran a young man. His name was Kian. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear and anger. His legs were shaking, but he did not stop. His heart was heavy with one thought only. My mother has been taken captive. He stumbled across the ruins, shouting, his voice breaking. My mother has been taken captive. Don't leave me, man, he cried, but no one answered. His words were swallowed by the silence of war. He found a soldier leaning against a broken wall, his arm bleeding, his face tired. Kian grabbed the man's sleeve, shaking him with desperate hands. Please help me, they took her, they took my mother, Kian begged. The soldier looked at him with hollow eyes. The man's lips moved, but his voice was weak. You don't understand, boy. You don't know what is following. He pulled his arm away, fear written on his face, and then he turned his eyes to the shadows behind Kian. Kian looked back but saw nothing, only smoke and the broken skeletons of machines. When he turned again, the soldier was gone. Vanished into the ruins, Kian was left alone. His hands empty, his breath short. He fell to his knees, pressing his fist to the ground. The night carried strange whispers like the wind, but sharper. The shadows seemed alive, moving without sound. Kian felt something was wrong. Something unseen was watching him. Still, he pushed himself up, wiping his tears with dirty hands. He could not stop now, he could not give up. His mother's voice still echoed in his memory, calling his name, asking him not to leave her. He whispered to himself, I will find you, mother. I will not let them take you away. Kian moved deeper into the ruins. His footsteps loud in the silence, he climbed over broken walls, crawled through tunnels of stone. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of a fight. Burned armor, crushed helmets, and bloodstains that told stories of soldiers who had tried to resist but failed. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Yet, in this place of death, Kian's will to live grew stronger. He knew his mother was alive. He could feel it inside. And if she was alive, then he would fight to the last breath to bring her back. But what Kian did not know was that he was not alone. Far behind him, in the cover of the smoke, shadows moved. Tall shapes with glowing eyes followed his trail. They did not speak, they did not rush, they moved with the silence of hunters. Their steps were heavy but careful, their eyes fixed on the boy. Kian thought he was running toward his mother, but in truth he was running deeper into their trap. The night grew darker, the stars hidden by black clouds. Kian stopped for a moment, his chest burning from running. He pressed his back against a stone wall. Breathing hard, he looked around, his ears sharp, but he saw no one. Still he felt it, a weight in the air. A pressure that made his skin cold. He whispered again, Don't leave me, man, please don't leave me. But the only answer was the sound of metal scraping against stone. Far away yet coming closer. A gust of wind blew ash across his face. He wiped it away and forced himself forward. Ahead of him, the ruins opened into a wide street. On both sides stood the broken shells of old machines, like giants frozen in death. Their eyes were dark, but their shapes made Kian's heart beat faster. He felt as if they were watching him, judging him. He walked slowly, each step echoing louder than it should. Behind him, the unseen figures kept moving. Silent and patient, Kian did not look back. He did not dare. He only thought of his mother, her face, her voice, her touch. He promised himself that no matter what, he would find her. He whispered again into the cold night, My mother has been taken captive, don't leave me. Man, his words trembled in the air, half prayer, half scream. Above him, the sky growled with thunder. The wind carried a strange metallic echo. Somewhere far away, a machine roared to life. Kian's eyes widened, his body frozen in fear. The sound was not human. The sound was not friendly. The pursuers were coming, but he had no clue. And so the boy ran again, deeper into the night, chased by shadows he could not see, carrying hope that burned like fire, but surrounded by a danger that was closer than he could imagine. Kian's feet carried him through the ruins like a frightened animal. The streets were broken, the stones cracked, the buildings hollow like dead bones. Every corner he turned, he hoped to see a sign of his mother, but there was nothing, only smoke and silence. Yet he felt something behind him, something heavy, something breathing without breath. He did not know it, but he was not running alone. Far in the shadows, tall figures moved, their eyes glowing faint like dying stars. They did not rush, they did not stumble. Their steps were slow, steady, certain. Each time Kian stopped to catch his breath. They stopped too, each time he moved again. They followed. They were hunters, and he was their prey. Kian wiped sweat from his face with a dirty sleeve. He whispered to himself, "You can do this, Kian, don't stop. Don't stop." But his voice was weak, trembling like a child. The silence around him was unnatural. Too heavy. Even the wind had stopped. It was as if the whole city was holding its breath, waiting. A sound broke the silence. Sharp, metallic. Kian froze, his heart pounding. It came from behind, scraping on stone like claws dragging on walls. He turned quickly but saw nothing. Only black smoke rising between ruins. His eyes searched the dark corners. But they were empty. Or maybe not, he felt watched. As if dozens of unseen eyes were following his every move. He shook his head, forcing himself to keep going. He climbed over a collapsed bridge, his hands scraping against rusted metal. The sharp edge cut his palm, but he ignored the pain. All he could see in his mind was his mother's face, trapped, afraid, calling for him. He whispered again, "Don't leave me, Mother. Don't leave me." From the smoke behind him, a figure stepped forward, but Kian did not see. Its tall body shimmered in the dark, its head tilting unnaturally like a broken machine. Its glowing eyes blinked once, and then it vanished back into the shadows. The hunt was not about speed. It was about fear. They wanted him to run, they wanted him to break. Kian reached a wide street where the moonlight touched the ground. The broken glass on the floor reflected pale silver. He slowed his steps, breathing heavy. In the silence he thought he heard a whisper, "Kian." His body froze, his eyes wide. The voice was soft, almost like his mother's. He turned quickly, but no one was there. The street was empty, he whispered to himself. "I am not crazy, I heard it, I know I heard it." The silence returned. But now it was heavier. He walked faster, then faster, until he was running again. Behind him the shadows moved. Closer now, their steps grew louder. A faint rhythm of metal against stone. Kian's breath broke into gasps. His chest burning, he did not dare to look back. He thought if he looked, he would see something that would stop his heart. A broken building appeared on his left, its doors half open. Kian rushed inside, hoping for safety. The inside was dark, dust falling from the ceiling. He pressed his back against the wall. Trying to silence his breath, he listened, his ears sharp. At first there was nothing, then slowly, the sound of footsteps entered the building. His heart jumped, his throat dry. The steps were slow, dragging, metallic. Something was inside with him. Kian held his breath, pressing his body against the cold wall. He looked for a weapon, any weapon. His hand found a broken pipe on the ground, heavy and rusty. He gripped it tightly. His knuckles white, the footsteps stopped. Silence returned. Kian's body shook, sweat rolling down his face. He felt the darkness itself watching him. Then from the far corner, two small glowing eyes appeared. Low to the ground, blinking, Kian raised the pipe, ready to fight. The eyes moved closer, slow and steady. And then a rat ran out, its body shining with ash. Kian let out a broken laugh, almost crying. "It's only a rat." "Only a rat," he whispered, but deep inside, he knew the real danger had not shown itself yet. He stepped out of the building, gripping the pipe. The street outside was colder, darker. The silence felt thicker now. He knew he had to keep moving, but fear slowed his steps. Behind him, in the smoke, the hunters moved again. One of them bent down, touching the ground where Kian had walked. The ground glowed faintly under its hand. Marking the boys' trail, their leader lifted its head, its voice low and heavy. "Soon," it said, though no human ear could hear. Kian walked faster, his eyes sharp. He thought he was escaping, but he was walking deeper into their net. The city was alive with shadows, and he was trapped inside. The silent chase had only begun. Kian's steps grew weaker as he entered a wide-open field. The smoke of the ruined city was fading behind him, but the silence was still heavy. His legs were tired, his body cold, and his heart filled with fear. He had run for hours, yet he had found no sign of his mother, only broken streets, shadows, and the feeling of being hunted. Ahead of him, half buried in the dirt, stood an old military outpost. The walls were cracked, the gates rusted, the watchtowers broken. It looked dead, forgotten, as if no one had touched it for years. Still, Kian felt a strange pull toward it. Maybe he would find shelter, maybe he would find answers, or maybe he would find death. He pushed the heavy door and stepped inside. The air was thick with dust, every breath dry and painful. Old machines stood silent in the corners, their screens black, their wires broken. The floor was covered with fallen helmets, old rifles, and shattered glass. The smell of rust and burnt metal filled the hall. Keon walked slowly, his footsteps echoing too loudly in the empty space. He whispered to himself, "Mother, are you here? Did they bring you here?" But his voice came back to him as an empty echo. Mocking his hope, he searched the rooms one by one, finding nothing but darkness. Broken chairs, tables flipped over, maps torn and scattered. It looked like soldiers once fought here but lost. The walls were scratched with deep marks like claws of something not human. Keon picked up a fallen helmet and stared at the dent in its metal. Something had crushed it with one blow. His hands shook, but he put it down and moved forward. In the last room, he found a table with a dead radio on top. The screen was cracked, its wires cut, but as Keon touched it, the radio hissed with static. His heart jumped. He pressed his ear close. At first it was noise, broken and sharp. But then a faint voice came through, soft and weak. "She is still alive." Keon froze, his eyes wide. "Mother," he whispered. The voice continued. "She is still alive. They will not harm her yet." The words cracked in the static, the sound fading in and out. Keon shook the radio, shouting into it, "Who are you? Where is she? Tell me where." But the radio hissed and died, falling silent. Keon's breath came fast, his hands trembling. If the voice was true, his mother was alive, but how did this broken radio speak? And who sent the message? Was it a friend or was it a trap? He sat in the corner, his head heavy, his body shaking. For a moment he felt hope. Then fear returned stronger. If someone knew his mother's fate, then someone was watching him. Maybe the same eyes that had followed him all night. He looked around the dark outpost, his pipe still in his hand. The shadows in the corners looked alive, he whispered. "I am not alone. I know I am not alone." A sudden noise made him jump. It was small at first, like a whisper of metal. Then it grew louder. A clicking sound echoing through the halls. Keon stood, his heart pounding. He gripped the pipe tighter. Holding it like a sword, the sound came closer. From the darkness at the far end of the hall, red lights blinked on. A shape rolled forward, low to the ground, its body covered in rusted armor. A drone, old but still alive. Its claws clicked as it moved, its eyes glowing red. Keon stepped back, his breath sharp. The drone scanned the room, its voice broken and metallic. Unauthorized life detected. "Eliminate." Then it charged, moving faster than Keon expected. Keon swung the pipe with all his strength, hitting its side. The metal rang loud, sparks flying. The drone shook but did not stop. It leaped again. Claws reaching for Keon, he ducked, rolling across the floor, grabbing a fallen rifle. The rifle was dead, no power. But he used it to block the claws. The force pushed him back, his arms burning with one last cry. Keon smashed the pipe against the drone's head. The glass cracked, sparks burst, and the machine collapsed. Smoke rose from its body. Its lights fading, Keon fell to his knees, his chest heaving. The broken drone twitched once more. Then its voice whispered in a low, dying tone, "They are coming. For you too." Then silence. Keon stared at it, his body shaking. He thought they only wanted his mother. But now he understood something terrible. They wanted him as well. The hunters were not chasing just to stop him. They were chasing him because he was part of the plan. But why? What did they want from him? The fear pressed heavy on his chest. He looked around the outpost, his eyes sharp now. This place was not safe. It was a grave, and the grave was about to close on him. He stood gripping the pipe again. His voice was weak but steady. "I will not stop. I will not give up. You will not take me. You will not take her." But outside the broken walls, in the smoke and ash, the hunters moved closer. They had seen the drone's light. They had heard the fight. And now they knew exactly where he was. The abandoned outpost was no longer a shelter. It was a trap. And the silent chase was about to end in blood. Keon left the outpost with shaking hands. The broken drone's words still echoed in his mind. "They are coming for you too." His body was tired, his breath short, but his fear was stronger than his weakness. He knew he could not rest here, not now. The walls of the outpost felt like a cage, and he was the animal inside, waiting for the hunters to close in. The night was colder outside, the wind sharp with ash. The ruins stretched in all directions, silent but not dead. Keon walked fast, holding the broken pipe tightly. Every shadow looked alive. Every sound felt like footsteps. He whispered to himself, "Mother, wait for me. I am coming." The street ahead was wide, the moonlight falling on broken stones. He stepped into the open, his eyes scanning for danger. At first there was nothing, only silence, then a sound came, faint but clear. Metal moving against stone. Slow and heavy, Kian froze. His chest tight, the sound grew louder, closer. He turned his head, and in the distance, through the smoke, he saw them, tall shapes, glowing eyes, moving like shadows made of iron. One, then two, then three, they walked with purpose. Their steps calm but unstoppable. Kian's heart raced, his body screamed to run. But his feet would not move. It was the first time he saw them with his own eyes. The pursuers, the tallest one, stopped. Its head turning toward him. Its eyes glowed bright. Cutting through the smoke, Kian felt as if its gaze pierced into his soul. For a long second no one moved. Then the creature raised its arm, pointing at him, and the others began to spread out, circling. The hunt was no longer silent. It was here Kian turned and ran, his legs burning. The street echoed with heavy steps behind him. They were faster than he expected. Their movement smooth, almost like machines. He ducked into a narrow alley, climbing over debris. But the moment he reached the other side, one of them dropped from above, landing in front of him. Its body was armored, its face hidden behind metal, its eyes burning red. Kian swung the pipe with all his strength. The hit connected, sparks flew, but the creature did not fall. It caught the pipe with one hand, twisting it out of his grip. Kian stumbled back, fear freezing his body. The creature raised its clawed hand, ready to strike, but Kian grabbed a sharp piece of broken glass from the ground and slashed. The glass cut across its arm. Leaving a glowing mark, the creature roared. A sound half machine, half beast. The ground shook with the force of its voice. Kian ran again, his chest burning behind him. Another pursuer dropped from the walls. It moved fast, crawling on all fours like a nightmare. Its claws scraped the ground. Sending sparks into the air, Kian's eyes darted around. Looking for escape, he saw an old vehicle. Broken but large, its door half open. He threw himself inside, slamming the door. The pursuer's claws hit the metal, bending it inward. Kian screamed, pushing against the door with all his strength. The creature's hand forced through the gap, its glowing eyes peering in. Kian grabbed a heavy rock and smashed its arm again and again until it pulled back. He crawled out the other side, panting, but the tall leader was waiting at the end of the street. Its glowing eyes locked onto him. The leader's voice echoed, deep and heavy, "You cannot run. You are the key." Kian froze, his body cold. "What do you want from me?" he shouted, his voice shaking, but the leader did not answer. It raised its hand and the others closed in. Kian grabbed the broken pipe again. Holding it like a sword, his arms shook, but he stood his ground. The pursuer on his left lunged forward, claws reaching. Kian swung the pipe with desperate strength. Striking its head, this time the blow cracked its mask, revealing a glimpse of what was inside. Not a full machine, not a full human, its skin was pale, its veins glowing blue, its mouth filled with sharp metal teeth. Kian's heart nearly stopped. They were not machines, they were something worse, something between life and death. The creature hissed, pulling back. The others growled, their voices heavy with rage. Kian realized the truth. They were not just hunting him. They were testing him. Every move he made, every fight, was being watched, studied. The leader's voice came again. "You are not ready yet. But soon you will be." Then, as quickly as they appeared, the pursuers stepped back, fading into the shadows. Their glowing eyes vanished, leaving only silence. Kian stood frozen, his chest heaving. His hands bled, his body weak. He had survived. But he did not feel like a survivor. He felt like prey that had been marked. He whispered to himself, "Why me? Why us? What do they want?" The broken drone's words echoed again in his memory. "They are coming for you too." Now he understood the weight of those words. This was not only about his mother. It was about him, about something inside him he did not yet know. Kian looked into the dark street, fear in his eyes. He knew this was only the beginning. The first encounter had ended, but the real war had just begun. Kian walked deeper into the ruins, his body weak but his mind burning with questions. The image of the pursuers stayed in his eyes. Their glowing veins, their broken faces, their words that chilled his heart. "You are the key," the leader had said. But what did that mean? Why him? Why not anyone else? He needed answers, and he needed them fast. As he moved through the streets, he found another path leading down into the earth. A hidden door half buried under stone. He pushed the debris away with trembling hands and pulled the door open. A rush of cold air escaped, carrying the smell of old machines and rust. A staircase led down into the dark. Kian hesitated, but he knew he had no choice. He whispered, "Mother, if you are down here, I will find you." And then he stepped inside. The staircase took him to an underground bunker. Lights flickered weakly on the walls, powered by dying batteries. The hall was filled with broken crates, shattered glass, and the skeletons of machines long abandoned. Kian walked slowly, his footsteps echoing against metal walls. At the end of the hall was a locked door, but when he touched it, it opened with a hiss, as if the system had been waiting for him. Inside was a control room, dusty and dark. Screens lined the walls, most of them cracked or dead. But one screen flickered to life. Glowing faintly, Kian stepped closer, his heart beating fast. On the screen appeared a folder with a name he knew too well. Dr. Leora, Project Seraph, his mother's name. Kian's breath caught in his throat. He touched the screen, opening the file. Words and images appeared, reports, diagrams, and strange symbols he could not understand. But the words he did understand froze his blood. Dr. Leora, lead scientist in hybrid program. Target human-alien integration. Result, partial success. Subject, Kian. Kian stepped back, shaking his head. No, this is wrong," he whispered. He scrolled through the file with trembling hands. It spoke of experiments, of his mother working with alien technology. It spoke of combining human DNA with something else, something not of this world. And at the bottom of the page was his name, his birth date, his blood tests. Kian realized the truth. The pursuers were not after him by chance. They were after him because he was part of this project. He was one of them. Tears filled his eyes. Anger and confusion twisting inside him. His mother had hidden the truth. She was not just his mother, she was a scientist, a creator, and he, her son, was more than human, he whispered. "You lied to me, Mother. You kept this from me." But even as he spoke, he felt a strange warmth inside his chest, something he had always felt but never understood, a strength, a spark that was not normal. Now he knew why. The screen flickered again. A video file appeared. Kian pressed play. The image of his mother appeared, her face tired but gentle. She looked into the camera and spoke. "Kian, if you are watching this, then they have found you. I never wanted this life for you. You are different. You were born with a gift, a power, but it is also a curse because they will never stop hunting you. You are not just my son, you are the bridge between worlds, and they need you to finish what we began." Kian's heart broke as he listened. His mother's voice was soft, filled with love and regret. "I am sorry I hid this from you. I am sorry I could not protect you from the truth. But remember this, Kian, you are stronger than you know. And even if they take me, do not let them take you. Fight, survive, and live, because you are the hope I gave to this dying world." The video ended. The screen went black. Kian fell to his knees, his hands covering his face. He wanted to scream, to cry, but no sound came. The truth was too heavy, too painful. He was not just a boy looking for his mother. He was the target, the prize, the key to the future. The silence of the bunker pressed around him. Then faintly he heard a sound, a soft mechanical hum coming from the walls. His eyes darted up and his heart sank. The pursuers had found the outpost. Their glowing eyes appeared in the darkness one by one. They stepped into the room, filling it with their presence. The leader raised its hand, its voice echoing deep. "You see now, boy. You were never meant to run. You were meant to return." Kian stood slowly, gripping the pipe in his hand, his tears burning into anger. He whispered, "You will not take me. You will not take her." The leader tilted its head, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You cannot fight what you are," it said. And then the room shook as they closed in. The hidden truth was out, and the real battle was about to begin. Kian ran from the underground bunker, his mind spinning with the truth he had just learned. His chest burned, his legs felt like fire, but he did not stop. The words of his mother's message still echoed inside him. "You are the bridge between worlds," she had said. But all Kian wanted now was to see her again, to free her, to hold her hand. The night outside was darker than before, the sky hidden behind black clouds. The ruins around him were silent, too silent. Every shadow seemed alive. Every breath of wind carried whispers that made his skin crawl. Yet he followed a faint trail, footprints pressed into the ash-covered ground, small, delicate, not his own. They belonged to her. His mother had been here. She had passed this way. His heart pounded with hope. The trail led him to a forest of broken ships, massive alien vessels that had crashed long ago. Their metal bones stood tall like twisted trees, their hulls glowing faintly with strange light. The air smelled of burnt fuel and ozone. Strange sounds echoed between the wrecks, whispers of engines that no longer lived. Kian moved carefully, his pipe in hand, his eyes sharp. The trail grew clearer, and then he saw it. In the center of the forest stood a cage of light. Glowing bars hummed softly, bending the air around them. Inside the cage was a woman, her hands tied, her face pale but alive. "Mother," Kian whispered, his voice breaking. It was her, Dr. Leora, his mother, the woman he had been searching for. She lifted her head, her eyes meeting his. "Kian," she whispered. Her voice weak but filled with love, tears filled his eyes. His body trembling, he stepped forward, reaching out, but then he froze. Around the cage stood the pursuers, their glowing eyes watching in silence. They had been waiting for him. It was a trap. The leader stepped forward, tall and armored, its voice cold. "You came, just as we knew you would." Kian gripped the pipe, his body shaking but his spirit burning. "Let her go," he shouted, his voice echoing. The leader tilted its head. "She is not the one we want, boy, it is you. She is only the bait." Kian's chest tightened, his heart pounding. He took another step forward. But the ground suddenly shook. The metal of the broken ships groaned, dust falling from their frames. A deep roar rose from beneath the earth, heavy and terrifying. The pursuers stepped back, their eyes glowing brighter. From the shadows of the wreckage, something massive began to move. The ground cracked, sparks of strange energy bursting into the air. And then it appeared, a beast taller than the ships. Its body covered in black armor like living stone. Its mouth glowed with fire, its eyes burned like suns. Its claws dug into the ground, each step shaking the earth. It let out a roar so loud the air itself seemed to tear apart. Kian froze, his hands trembling. He had faced drones, he had faced the pursuers. But this was beyond anything. This was a monster of war, a weapon of shadows. And it stood between him and his mother. Dr. Leora cried out from the cage. "Kian, no, don't come closer, run." But Kian shook his head, his voice breaking. "I will not leave you. Not again." The beast lowered its head. Smoke pouring from its jaws, the pursuers watched in silence, their leader's voice cold. "This is the trial, boy, if you survive. You are ours, if you die, you were never worthy." Kian gripped the pipe tighter, his knuckles white, his body shook with fear. But inside his chest, the strange warmth grew stronger, the spark his mother had spoken of, the power he never understood. He could feel it now, burning inside him. He whispered to himself, "I am not just prey. I am not just human," and then he charged. The beast roared, swinging its claw. Kian rolled aside, the ground exploding where he had stood. He jumped onto the wreck of a ship, climbing quickly as the beast followed. Its glowing eyes tracked his every move, its claws tearing through metal like paper. Kian swung the pipe, striking its head. The blow sparked but barely slowed it. The beast roared again, shaking the wreck apart. Kian fell, hitting the ground hard, his body aching. The monster loomed over him, its jaws opening wide, fire glowing inside. Dr. Leora screamed from the cage. "Kian, use it." "Use what's inside you." Kian's eyes widened. The warmth in his chest grew stronger, spreading through his arms. His hands glowed faintly, his body shaking with strange energy. He lifted the pipe again, but now it glowed with him. The beast struck, claws tearing the earth. Kian swung with all his strength. The blow exploded with light, the beast roaring as its armor cracked. For the first time, it stepped back. The pursuers watched in silence, their glowing eyes unblinking. The leader's voice whispered, "Yes." "The bridge awakens." Kian stood, his chest burning, his eyes filled with fire. He shouted, "You will not take her. You will not take me." The beast roared again, charging, and the ground shook as the battle began. The ground shook as the war beast roared again. Its massive claws dug deep into the earth, breaking stone like it was nothing. Kian stood in front of it, pipe glowing faintly with the strange light that now lived inside him. His chest burned, his arms trembled, but he did not back down. Behind the glowing cage, his mother watched with wide eyes, her face pale. She screamed his name, her voice breaking. "Kian, don't let them take you. Don't let them win." The beast lowered its head, smoke pouring from its mouth. Its eyes glowed like burning suns, then it charged, faster than Kian thought possible. The ground split with every step. The air heavy with its roar, Kian's heart pounded, but he lifted the glowing pipe and ran toward it. When their bodies met, the impact shook the wrecks around them. Metal shattered, dust filled the air. The beast's claws swiped. Kian rolled under, the edge of its strike cutting his shoulder. Pain shot through his body, but the strange light in his chest pushed him forward. He jumped onto the beast's arm, climbing with desperate speed. The monster roared, thrashing, shaking him like a rag, but Kian held tight, his fingers gripping its armor. He raised the glowing pipe and drove it into the cracks of its neck. A burst of energy exploded, sparks flying. The beast screamed. Its body twisting in pain, it stumbled, crashing into the wrecks, tearing them apart. Kian fell from its back, landing hard, his breath knocked out. He struggled to his feet, his hands bleeding, his body weak. The beast turned, smoke pouring from its wounds. Its roar was weaker but filled with rage. Kian lifted the pipe again, though his arms shook. He knew this was not just a fight for survival. This was a fight for his mother, for the truth, for himself. The beast lunged again, jaws wide, fire glowing inside. Kian raised the pipe, his chest glowing brighter. The warmth inside him became fire. Running through his veins, his eyes shone, his voice strong. "No more, you will not take her." The ground shook with the final clash. The pipe exploded with light as it struck the beast's head. The sound was deafening, a blast of energy tearing through the air. The beast roared one last time, its armor shattering, its body collapsing into the earth. The ground cracked, smoke rising, then silence. Kian stood over its body, his chest heaving, his arms trembling. The pipe was broken. Glowing fragments scattered across the ground. The beast's fire faded, its eyes dark. Kian's body nearly collapsed. But he stayed standing. He turned to the glowing cage. His mother pressed her hands against the light, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, Kian. You did it," she whispered. Kian stumbled toward her, his hands reaching. But before he could touch the cage, the air shifted. The pursuers stepped forward, their glowing eyes bright. They had not moved during the fight. They had only watched. Now they surrounded him, silent and cold. The leader stepped closer, its armored body towering over him. Its voice was deep, echoing like thunder. "You are more than human now. You are what we waited for. You are the bridge." Kian raised his fists, his body shaking. "I am nothing to you. I will never be yours," he shouted. The leader tilted its head, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You already are. This is only the beginning." With a wave of its hand, the cage holding his mother shifted. The glowing bars grew brighter. Pulling her back into the shadows, she screamed, "Kian, run! Don't let them take you too." Kian rushed forward, but the pursuers blocked his path. He swung his fists, but they caught him easily, their grip like iron. He struggled, shouting, his voice breaking, "Let her go, let her go!" But the leader leaned closer, its cold voice whispering, "You will follow her soon. You cannot escape your blood." The sky above thundered, the wrecks shook. The ground split wider as strange energy rose into the air. The pursuers lifted Kian, his body thrashing, his voice screaming. His mother's cries echoed in the night. Then everything was drowned in light, a blinding flash that swallowed the battlefield. When the light faded, the beast's body was gone. The cage was gone, the pursuers were gone, and Kian stood alone in the ruins, his body shaking, his hands glowing faintly. The silence was heavy, but he knew one thing: this was not the end. It was only the beginning.